Multiple new image editors have come out since Nano Banana dropped and went viral. So I've been running tests comparing all the new and older image editing models across tons of different use cases. This is my Figma canvas with around 60 of those tests. I tested all my previous Nano Banana fails on the new models. I also came up with some really difficult challenges. I pushed this as far as I could. I will cover everything so you can see what's possible and not possible yet. Some of these really surprised me. The models I tested are Nano Banana, some older models like ChatGPT 4.0, Qwen Image Edit, and Flux Kontext, plus two newer models, Reve and Seedream 4, which is probably the main one people have been calling the Nano Banana killer. And how I did this, I ran each of these 4 times on each model and picked the best. I'll start out with a few really broad use cases. This is just the prompt, remove all people from this image. And this is a particularly difficult image for this since there's not only all these people here, but there's this glass that makes it a lot more confusing and the shadows where you can't really tell where they're coming from, plus people that are obstructing a lot of the details. They all successfully removed all the people, but they each failed in different ways at filling out the details. Now, one of those that I'll focus on first, so these people right here were blocking this little pillar that's behind them. That's a pretty hard one to figure out. ChatGPT and Flux Kontext just removed it completely. Now, Seedream and Reve both removed the people, but didn't know to fill out the rest of the beam. Nano Banana and Qwen both seemed to have some sort of understanding of what that was and filled it in, and they both chose different ways to do that. And most of these struggled with the shadows. They removed the people but left parts of their shadows. Qwen did the best with that, and there's just a ton of little details like that to examine in these, but Qwen and Nano Banana are the closest. The main issue with Qwen was it removed the boats too, which I didn't ask for, but I'd probably still call it the winner. Moving on to another basic one, I took a classic shot from Jurassic Park and said, change this to daytime. Now, Seedream just took out too much stuff from the background, but the rest all did a pretty good job at retaining all the details that were visible. It was mostly just a stylistic choice of what to add to the background where it wasn't visible, and the overall aesthetics like lighting and contrast choices. My personal preference is Nano Banana, and it's a nice touch that it decided to turn off the headlights on the car since it was daytime. Now, the other thing you'll notice through all of these examples is with ChatGPT, it can't generate in as many aspect ratios as the others. It can only do square or 2:3 and 3:2. So anything that's different, like this one that's in 16:9, it has to crop. So that's a big downside of ChatGPT. I did one more like this, but in reverse. This was a photo of me and my family at Delicate Arch, but I asked it to change to night and add the Milky Way. Now, Reve and Context look terrible. Seedream and GPT are all right. The Nano and Qwen are both amazing. I'd give this to Nano Banana though, because of how the shadows look in Qwen. It kept them from the original, but for a night shot, even if you were using something to light it up, they wouldn't be in that spot. Nano Banana, everything just looks really natural here. This next one's a prompt that went pretty viral a while back. It's taking a character and then adding the box and a blender model on the screen behind it. Optimus Prime is a pretty complex character, so there's a lot for it to understand. They all actually did surprisingly well with this, retaining basically all the details from the image. Nano Banana looks the most natural and realistic, like someone just snapped a picture on their desk, but it did add some kind of jumbled text, like where it was trying to write Transformers. I think I like the Seedream one the most. I mean, the text is jumbled, but it looks like it could just be another language. Qwen and ChatGPT are both pretty strong contenders here as well. Since that was so close, I tried using the same prompt, but ramped it up a bit with this picture of Aang in the avatar state with all the elements rotating around him. Most of them didn't do as well with this. It's really only between Nano Banana and ChatGPT. As a stylistic choice, I definitely prefer Nano Banana, but on the finer details, although it nailed the text on the top left, it has jumbled text where it was trying to say Nickelodeon here. And also, it doesn't have the stuff floating around him on the box. ChatGPT was more accurate overall, even though I don't like the style as much. I know I'm being super critical of every generation here, but the fact we can do any of this stuff at all now is pretty insane. Nano Banana has been probably the most useful AI tool for me specifically. That's why we made a full course on it on Futurepedia. If you don't know yet, we have over 30 in-depth courses on the platform to help you master AI. There's only so deep I can go in these videos on YouTube, but back to some more examples. Now for this one, swap the clothes between these two people. Seedream and Reve were the only two that got the clothing switch right. The others all failed in different ways. images. Nano Banana just keep giving me back the exact original image. But between the two that got the switch right, Reve removed that black rectangle behind. It also changed their poses a bit and shrunk one of them. So this goes to Seedream for sure. It did change one pose a bit, but it's pretty interesting that it kept the bigger size of the button up so it was baggy on him. Then it unzipped the hoodie because it probably wouldn't have fit him. That was definitely the winner. And for this one, I found a really damaged old photo and just said, restore and colorize this image. Obviously fail with Flux Kontext. With ChatGPT, the people look good, but you'll notice this with a lot of ChatGPT examples that the characters look nothing at all like the original image. When I try to look through all of the smaller details on this image, I think Seedream is the winner, especially looking closely at the faces with the little details we have, like this guy's eye here. It seems like that is the most accurate. So I'm calling that the winner, but Nano Banana and Qwen weren't bad. Now, here's a test if you ever want to put yourself onto a meme. This was uploading 2 images, the original Drake meme with just blank spaces in the boxes on the right, and then an image of my face. So I wanted to replace his face with mine, then I described what I wanted in the upper and lower boxes. Now, a few of these did a terrible job at trying to replace the face. Qwen didn't even try at all. Nano Banana tried on one, but just put my exact face right on there, really small, without trying to make it blend at all. Way over to Reve, it looks pretty natural as far as the lighting is concerned, but it changed up the poses and definitely my face looks super weird. So I'd say the pretty clear winner here is ChatGPT. The face doesn't look exactly like me, but it's close, and all the other aspects were better than any of the others. So I'm going to switch it up and jump into a far more complex one right now. So if we come down to the images I uploaded, I have this grid of 8 different things. And then separately, I uploaded an image of this room. Then for the prompt, combine all these items into one cohesive image. Show the woman wearing the fancy hat while riding the tiger. Show the man wearing the vibrant colored jacket while riding the capybara. The capybara is wearing the sunglasses. And set this in the marble room and place the abstract painting on the wall. So that's a lot of different aspects it needs to get right. It really needs to do a good job of understanding the natural language I used. So how did they do? I was actually surprised that they all did a decent job with this. Like none of them failed completely. Every one of them understood what they were supposed to do. So it all comes down to which details they kept correct from each of those objects and how natural it all looks in the scene. You can pretty quickly spot what's wrong with a lot of them. With context, she's wearing the jacket too. Just tons of details are off, like their faces don't look the same, the hat's wrong, and it completely changed the room, so it got a lot of the details incorrect. ChatGPT did a great job. All of this is very accurate to what I uploaded, except for their faces definitely have some details off, but it did a really good job. With Qwen, a ton of the details are off. Painting looks nothing at all like the original. Her hat looks nothing at all like the original. Neither does the jacket. Both their faces look off, and none of it even looks natural in this room. Nano Banana tried to get it, but they're weirdly small in the room. The sunglasses aren't on the capybara. She's wearing the jacket. Their faces don't look that good. I was actually surprised how bad it did with this one. And I'm gonna jump over here. Again, okay, good effort. Tons of details off, I think that's pretty obvious. What I think is the winner is Seedream. If you look at the details of any of these, it's all pretty close to what I uploaded, especially the faces. Those look by far the best of any of these. All the lighting looks pretty natural across this. They fit right into the scene. I think that is a very clear winner here. If you're using any of these AI image editors to create content for social media and want to actually make that content go viral, I highly suggest you check out this free resource provided by HubSpot. It's called HubSpot's AI-powered viral toolkit. This toolkit is designed to help you turn your content, whether you're making it in Nano Banana or any other AI tool, into something that actually gets views and shares. It includes a custom-trained GPT called Go Viral GPT that acts like a personal viral strategist. You tell it your platform, your audience size, and what you're trying to do, and it gives you personalized strategies instead of generic advice. But it's not just the GPT, you also get 15 battle-tested prompts for things like competitor analysis, trend hijacking, and platform algorithm optimization. Plus there's 50 proven hooks. These are actual opening lines and angles that have driven millions of views across different emotional triggers like curiosity, shock, and relatability. My favorite part is how practical it is. These aren't vague tips, they're copy and paste prompts you can use immediately. Whether you need a viral video script structure or want to analyze why your competitor's content is blowing up, there's a specific prompt for that. Again, completely free to download using the link in the description. Thank you to HubSpot for sponsoring this video and providing resources like this one. Here's one that I thought was going to be an easy win for all of them. Extract the outfit from this character. Nano Banana left the hands in, Seedream didn't even really try. Qwen added this yellow stripe to the boots. ChatGPT forgot the lower part of these sleeves. Flux Kontext left off the boots, so really Reve is the only one that got every part of the outfit right, although it did leave it in the pose, which I didn't specify not to, so it's still a win. But I ended up taking the output from ChatGPT, even though it was missing the forearms on the sleeves. Then I uploaded this picture of Zuko and said, swap the firebender's clothes with the airbender's clothes. Now they all understood what I was going for and attempted to do it, but Reve is the winner here. This included every part of the outfit and retained the pose really well, and none of the others came that close actually. Now, this is something I used from a recent video where I was in this shot and then I removed myself and was adding a monster in the background, then spliced it all together with some video. When I was doing that, I had to add in some manual Photoshop work because Nano Banana just couldn't get it right making the monster outside the window. So I tested this in the other models. Qwen failed as well, but all of the other 4 did a good job with this. It was really down to just which monster you preferred, and they were all pretty decent. Although I think Seedream was leaning into some Monsters Inc. for inspiration here. I do still like that one for what I was using this for, but I would not say it's a clear winner at all. Any of these other ones could have been too. This is another one I used in a video where I was using Nano Banana to make motion graphics. So I have this image of the rhino. The idea was it would change the angle a little bit so it's viewed diagonally, and then add a red glow to only the smaller horn. That's what made all of these others struggle. Nano Banana and Qwen just couldn't understand to only apply it to one horn. Seedream got the wrong horn. ChatGPT got the right horn, but it changed the style so much. It wouldn't really be usable for what I needed it for, because I was using these as start and end frames for a video. Then Flux Kontext, I don't know what's going on there. But then Reve nailed it. It got every part of how I described to change the angle and also highlighted only the upper horn. Very, very clear winner with Reve there. Now, this is a test that came from Twitter where you take an image from Google Maps and say, show me what the red arrow sees. This really tests their understanding. It's pretty amazing that any of them can get this right, honestly, but definitely not all of them. So Qwen, Seedream, and Flux all fails. Atomium is a tourist attraction in Belgium, by the way. It looks like this. This thing has such a unique shape, and it kind of looks different from different angles. So I think ChatGPT and Nano Banana could both look accurate depending on which angle you're looking at it from. Reve did pretty decent, although it's not as accurate to how the building actually looks. I tried asking for this in just another way, show me a photo from the ground view of this building, and I'm more zoomed in on it. For some reason, Qwen wouldn't allow me to generate that, but it was the same 3 that completely failed, then the same other 3 that made a pretty good attempt at it, although I'd say Nano Banana wins this one. And for another map challenge, this is another one I used from that motion graphics video. It says, make the country of France red with a glowing outline, also label it as France. But there's no clear markings around France in the image. And they all failed at this. Nano Banana, Qwen, and Reve at least got a decent shape of France. Nano Banana was the best since it actually got the island there, but it is not at all where France is on the map. It just highlighted it and placed it on top of everything. So when I made this video, I had to get a different type of map that already had France outlined when I was doing this. But this is one of the images I ended up with while I was working on that. And then I used the prompt, add an Eiffel Tower popping up on the map in 3D where the Eiffel Tower is actually located in France, which is actually up towards the top of France about right here. And none of them placed it in the right spot. Seedream completely changed the style of the image, although I do really like the style they made it, but not at all what I was asking for, so fail there. And really they all failed at this, but the one that I have up here from Reve, they have a unique feature that I was able to get this actually perfect with. I'm going to jump into the platform and actually show how I got that. So these are the attempts it had at generating that. But they have this really cool feature here where when I click edit, it kind of automatically segments different parts of the image. So I can come down and select Eiffel Tower, or it also has the text of France there, or the whole country all selected as one. It's a really cool feature because what you can do is I can just take the Eiffel Tower box and move it to where I wanted it to be and click apply edits. And then it fixes the image perfectly. That is such a cool feature, and it definitely makes it the winner when you allow that additional editing step. All right, now I'm moving on to some consistent character tests. I did a lot of these in different formats with consistent characters and consistent products. We'll start out with just an image of me that I used, but I also tried this with some animation styles and a bunch of different styles, actually. I know consistent characters and consistent scenes are a very common use for Nano Banana and tools like this, so I ran just a ton of tests on this one to make sure I was really thorough with any recommendations here. So through these first tests, I just used the same image of my face across all of these with just a simple prompt, man surfing, riding a barrel wave. I'll spend a little more time on this first one, zoomed in. Then you'll notice the same things apply to the other examples I show using my face. So with Flux Kontext, it does a pretty good job, just not super high quality where my face is, but it got the features and definitely looks like me. ChatGPT is like it attempted to look like me, but created a new character that's sort of based off of me. That's what it does a lot. It changes way too many details. It's super hard to get any sort of consistent character with ChatGPT. I also just noticed I have 4 toes here. Now Qwen, this one's a little bit further away than some of the others, but it resembles me with some basic characteristics like the beard and hair, but it doesn't look that much like me at all. Nano Banana does a pretty good job. But with faces, it's difficult because when it's lower resolution, like what you get with Nano Banana, you do lose a lot of the key features, but probably the best with the rest of the image and how natural everything blends in the scene. Those kind of base image generation is really, really good. Now, Seedream, since it generates in 4K, the details on the face are crystal clear and it nails every aspect. This looks exactly like me. It is the best at this across almost every one of these generations. The main issue is the base image generation model isn't as good. So if you have additional reference images or a placing within a scene, it can keep those details really good. But if you don't have those, you're asking it to generate from scratch, it definitely has some issues. Like this wave is some weird circled swirl thing. The sizing's not really right, and I don't blend perfectly with it, but again, the face is just amazing. And Reve actually does a really good job too. So my face, that looks just exactly like me, and the shot is really good too. It looks like this was shot on like a GoPro or something. Perfect action shot, like right inside the wave. So for this example specifically, I'd say the only real usable ones, if you want it to look just like me, are Seedream and Reve. Then Nano Banana and Flux Kontext are close. ChatGPT and Qwen, not close enough to pass. Then for this one of me skydiving, you'll notice pretty much the same thing across all of these. Qwen and ChatGPT just doesn't look like me. Qwen is really, really bad at this one. Nano Banana, it's hard to tell through this helmet, but it looks kind of like me. Seedream, again, that is absolutely perfect. Literally nails every single detail on my face. And Reve basically nails it too. Teeth are a little weird. Other than that, great job. Flux Kontext, little low resolution. The face is a little strange, but definitely looks like me. So moving on to volcano boarding. All the same stuff. I feel like it's even more apparent in this one. ChatGPT and Qwen, both kind of weird images and don't look enough like me. This one in Qwen is just awful. Nano Banana, again, really, really good image, nice action shot. Everything meshes really well. The face, not all the way there for likeness, but decent. Seedream has a pretty good action shot. Like overall, the aesthetics of this are really solid and looks just like me. Reve, awesome shot, nailed the face. Flux Kontext, nailed the face. Super weird shot. I don't know what is going on here. There's one more in this style, me hang gliding. All the same stuff. Doesn't look that much like me in ChatGPT or Qwen. Nano Banana sort of looks like me, has a really good image though. Seedream looks just like me, and actually has a pretty decent generation in this one. Reve looks great, pretty solid image. Flux Kontext, great job on the face, but I'm not even hang gliding. So to kind of summarize that, we're using a real person like this. For the absolute best resemblance of that person, Seedream is going to win, and Reve is pretty close behind, but they're very hit and miss on the composition and overall quality within the image. Flux Kontext also has great character consistency, but much lower image quality. Nano Banana has medium character consistency, but the best base image generator. But then ChatGPT never really looks like the person, changes a ton of details, but the images end up looking okay. Never particularly realistic though. Then Qwen is usually just terrible at this all around. I mentioned a second ago that adding an image for the models to work from helps with Seedream and Reve, where the base generator isn't as good sometimes. So here's an example of that. For the fails really quick, we got a completely warped face with context. Just terrible in ChatGPT. Qwen's not bad, it's just not very detailed in the face. The same with Nano Banana, except this is a little better. Seedream got the perspective terribly, but the image isn't bad because it was working from my photo. Reve is the one that was especially helped by this and turned out really well. It added the jacket because it looked cold. It retained my likeness really well, and my pose looks natural, and the overall image is very aesthetic. So that one is great. But if I wanted to retain all the details from the original photo I took exactly, Nano Banana was the better option. It kept the photo the same, where Reve just used it as inspiration, but changed the perspective and colors a bit. Now, how about if we add in a celebrity here? Nano Banana and Seedream are pretty close with the likeness, but Nano Banana looks way more natural. Qwen and ChatGPT are terrible. Reve is alright likeness, but really weird lighting. Context is a decent likeness, and a pretty natural looking shot too. Right up there with Nano Banana. I also used an image of me and tested out a bunch of different styles, like a Minecraft character. Flux Kontext didn't do well with this, but all the others did a pretty good job. Although Seedream is a little too detailed for a Minecraft scene. I'd say ChatGPT was the best out of these. And for a South Park character, Flux Kontext wouldn't do it. The Nano Banana, I'd say that looks a lot like me. But as far as the actual South Park vibe, ChatGPT was the best. A claymation character, I don't know, that's kind of rude from Qwen. And Flux Kontext doesn't look too much like me, but the others I'd say all did a great job. I don't know, that's a kind of funny claymation style from Reve. But definitely Nano Banana, Seedream, and ChatGPT did great with that. The classic action figure in a box prompt. They all did an okay job with this one. Nano Banana, I'd say, is the best, but depending on what type of style you're going for, pretty much any of these would work. Now I've got a GTA 5 character. I would say Nano Banana wins this one, but ChatGPT and Reve are pretty close behind that. And Qwen and Seedream aren't bad. Flux Kontext wouldn't generate it. But then as a rubber hose animated character, most of them didn't understand what that was. If you don't know, rubber hose is the animation style from like the 20s and 30s. Steamboat Willie is probably the most famous example. So it seemed like ChatGPT and Reve understood what the style was. They don't look great. Nano Banana is the perfect representation of it. Absolutely the winner here. Now this is taking it in a different direction, and I used a kind of vague prompt so I could let it figure out what it wanted to do. Create a movie poster using my face. It will be a parody of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly called The Good, the Bad, and the AI. It should have a Western theme, but with an AI crossover twist. Maybe a robot as one of the characters or something. And honestly, all of these did okay. I'd say Qwen doesn't look like me enough. Reve is pretty weird. This is just copy and pasted me from the image I uploaded. But context, definitely solid. The text looks great on that. ChatGPT, I look a little weird there, but I'd say that's a great movie poster. Same with Seedream, and that one looks a little more like me than any of the others so far. But Nano Banana, this one is just amazing. Like, that's such a cool movie poster design. Like, you could absolutely see that as a real movie poster. Had a really unique font for the text that fits the theme. All the text up top is solid. The date is right down below, although all the rest of this text is just nonsense. But even so, I would absolutely say that Nano Banana wins this one. By far the best design of all of these. Now, one last one with my face. More complex prompt, though. Give me a grid of this man with different emotions, a 3x2 grid of happy, sad, excited, scared, embarrassed, angry. Now, right off the bat, Reve didn't understand what I was going for, just made me look weird. Flux Kontext is alright. It looks like each one is the correct emotion. Didn't quite retain my likeness. ChatGPT doesn't have my likeness at all. Qwen doesn't look that much like me. Nano Banana does a pretty good job with my face. Not perfect, but definitely not bad. It got each of the emotions correct too. But Seedream definitely looks the most like me. It's a little more exaggerated for each of the emotions too. So I would call Seedream the winner with Nano Banana not too far behind. Now, so you don't have to keep looking at my face, here's a mid-journey woman I generated in a few different scenes. It's the same type of results as the images I already covered. ChatGPT and Qwen aren't good. Nano Banana is good likeness and the best looking image overall. Seedream has the highest likeness, but hardest time following the prompt. Then Reve and Context are pretty good too. Same results with writing and iceberg, although the generation from Reve was particularly good at this one. Then same thing walking out of a spaceship door on Mars. I'd just be repeating stuff I already said if I try to explain these ones. Then I did one more with me and her having a drink at a bar. Qwen and ChatGPT are bad. Context is decent, but the small details like her nose ring missing are off. Reve loses the likeness and the quality a bit, and gave her an extra nose ring. Seedream is basically perfect likeness. Nano Banana is a really good aesthetic and likeness, and seems like about how me and her would vibe together too. I tried converting this mid-journey image to different styles. Seedream is the only one that nailed a 3D animation style. ChatGPT was alright too. Everything but Nano Banana was okay with anime. Context and Qwen were the best. Then with street art graffiti, all of them but Seedream did a good job since there's a lot of ways to interpret that style. Although with Nano Banana, that would be an insanely talented artist. I've got quite a few more examples in this realm of keeping characters consistent, but I'll do this while zooming in and out, changing the camera angle, using multiple characters, and a bunch more like that. Now, this one should have been pretty simple, just zoom out on this image for a full body shot. ChatGPT just a complete fail. Seedream didn't zoom out nearly enough, but the other four all did basically a perfect job retaining the face and the different texture and colors in her hair. But Reve and Qwen both are kind of weird images where she's not even standing on anything. So it's really down to Nano Banana and Flux Kontext. I could really go either way on this one. Flux Kontext, that's not what I would have pictured her looking like, but I didn't tell it what she should look like, so that's not its fault. Nano Banana is a bit more what I would expect her to be wearing. So I'd say that's the winner here, but Context is not far behind. This one is the opposite, going from zoomed out to zoomed in. Now the one that did the best at just zooming in exactly how the image was is Nano Banana. Basically just a cropped in version of this image. So it did the best there. But as far as making a close-up shot of this character, Seedream, Reve, and Flux Kontext all did a good job as well. They'd kind of all be tied for this one. Now for a more difficult camera angle change, I have this image of a Mongolian horseman. Said change the angle to a front view full body shot with the horse and men's full bodies facing the camera. So there is this guy up front, and then there's also the guy in the back who's riding the horse. And it's a little difficult to tell from this image exactly what's happening, so it's a tough one. Now, Qwen and Nano Banana both got the full body shot part right, so those would really be the ones that win. But definitely an amazing job by Seedream at the character consistency here. That looks exactly like this guy. Better with the facial consistency, but not as good at following the prompt. And using the same character, I asked for a character turnaround sheet. Again, fail from ChatGPT, just get that out of the way here. The others all just took a different approach at this. Literally every one of them did an awesome job with it. I actually wouldn't even be able to choose a winner from any of these. I mean, Reve completely changed the style, but Kontext, Seedream, Nano Banana, and Qwen all did a really, really good job. They kept details consistent from each of the different angles. So I'd say that's like a 3-way or even 4-way tie. So I tried it again with a different character. This time I asked to retain the original pose with her hand up in the air like that. So Reve is the only one that retained the original pose through each of them. As far as getting a turnaround sheet that looks like this character, Kontext, Qwen, and Nano Banana all did a good job. Seedream and ChatGPT changed the style too much, but Reve is definitely the winner because it nailed the character and the pose. Now for this one, I tried keeping a consistent product. This was to take this image and replace the can with this future fuel can. It gives you max energy for the AI era. I created this from our logo in my previous Nano Banana video. Now to tell how good any of them did, you kind of need to zoom in quite a bit to look at the details of the can. Nano Banana, none of the details are there. Qwen doesn't have the details. Seedream doesn't have them in the can I wanted it to have, but put this one right here. ChatGPT doesn't have them and changed all the rest of the image. Fail all around from Flux. Reve was definitely the closest. It doesn't have all the text here, but it did get the logo. So I would have to give that to Reve, even though none of them did it perfectly. So I tried it again with one that's a little bit easier. The can's a lot bigger and more visible in this shot. So zooming in, Nano Banana got it pretty close. Definitely not perfect. Seedream just made the can huge, which makes it a lot easier to get all the details in. With Qwen, let's look in there. He's always looked good from far away, but then it's not good once you zoom in close. ChatGPT changed a bunch of details about her, but did get at least the future fuel part right. Then Reve actually got the whole future fuel part right, and the can, this text is just a little too small to read, so that's really, really good. Flux Kontext made the can huge, but wasn't able to get the lower text. So I'd say the winner of those is Reve, since he got the logo and the future fuel part correct and kept the can a natural size. Like Seedream got all the details right, but made the can huge. Same type of thing here, just replace the can with the future fuel can. Nano Banana actually got all the details right this time. So did Seedream. Qwen, the text is bad. ChatGPT got it, but the can looks the wrong size. Reve got it all correct, and so did Flux Kontext. So the text was right on 4 of these, but as far as the aesthetics looking like this original image, I would say Nano Banana and Reve are tied. They're both completely passable. I'd actually probably give it to Reve since Nano Banana put these weird black bars on the side. I took that in a different direction and just uploaded the can and said, give me a modern landing page for this product. I've always got to zoom in again to see how the text is looking. Almost all the text is correct on this one from Nano Banana, and that's a great looking site. Seedream just made it huge, so that's not really what a landing page would look like. Although it is a great style and did a good job with the design, it's just not a landing page. Qwen made a nice looking landing page, but it was a bit ambitious with how much text it tried to put on it here. So that definitely caused it to fail, but I like the design. Pretty simple one from ChatGPT. So yeah, not bad, but every bit of text was actually accurate on this, but pretty weird with Reve. Yeah, lots of bad text with Kontext. So I'd say that's down to ChatGPT or Nano Banana. As far as a landing page goes, like Nano Banana looks more like an actual landing page. So I would give it to Nano Banana on this one. Seems like ChatGPT kind of knew what its limits were and just generated a nice looking design with a landing page feeling to it. Then I took this image from Seedream since that was a really solid design. And then I said, change all the text to Chinese, keep everything else the same. Now, if you notice here, Reve is the only one that converted all the text. The others varied on how much they did. That seems good at first, but then I got out the Google Lens app and it turns out it was saying some pretty weird stuff on it. No idea why it chose any of these characters, if it was just random or what. And I know the characters can have different meanings depending on the context, but all the translations are really weird. For comparison, Qwen was totally normal. It didn't translate that much of the text, but what it did was accurate. With Kontext, it seems like only part of it was real characters up top. I don't know if these are just random shapes that resemble Chinese characters. I'm not really sure since I can't read Chinese. I did live in China for a year and can speak some Mandarin, but I can read 0. Moving on to the newer models, Seedream seems like a normal translation. Same with ChatGPT, that looks great. Then with Nano Banana, it's not bad. It does seem a little off. So ChatGPT and Seedream win. They didn't translate everything, but used real translations on what they did translate. Now, I made this stick figure fighting pose. Then I took the skeleton ballerina and the pimp cat, and I asked for it to make a fight scene corresponding to the pose drawing, with the skeleton ballerina on the left and the pimp cat on the right. First, I did in a neon-lit disco nightclub. As far as keeping the poses, Qwen was definitely the best at this. None of the others did a very good job. Nano Banana tried, but Qwen was definitely the winner here. Like, it got those poses basically perfect. Most of the others did a good job with character consistency and just kind of made their own fight scene. So I tried that again, but in an abandoned 1970s Vegas casino. It was the same thing here. Qwen was the only one that got the poses accurate, and the others just kind of did their own thing. So I tried one more time, this one in a dark alley, and yeah, the exact same thing. So between all of these generations, Qwen was the one that kept the exact poses from the stick figure drawing. So it's definitely the clear winner, but as far as aesthetics, Nano Banana won all three. Kept character consistency and put them in a great scene and had them actually fighting. In each of these examples, the other four really didn't do a good job. Not only with not nailing the pose, but the scenes just didn't look good either. All right, so next I have this image I generated in Midjourney of just an anime market scene. And I tried a bunch of different ways of changing the angle, zooming in on the characters, and just moving the camera around to try to make a bunch of shots across a consistent scene and characters. Starting out with just a higher angle of the scene. So I'd raise the camera so the scene is viewed from above. Most of them raised it kind of more than I was expecting. Nano Banana just gave me back the same original image. That's annoying. Seedream did a good job. So did Flux Kontext. As much as Flux Kontext failed at a bunch of the previous tasks, it does a good job with this type of thing. So really I'd say this is between Seedream and Flux Kontext. But I tried a bunch of different shots in this scene too. This was to make it more of a full bird's eye view, a top-down aerial angle. And I'd say Seedream failed that one, even though it did good on the last one. Completely wrong style with ChatGPT. But I'd say Nano Banana was the best. This has most of the feel of this original shot. Qwen kind of understood what it was doing. Context, not bad. Reve was on the right track, but feel like that's not the style. But then I wanted a close-up of the woman and change the angle so it's a straight-on shot of her, not just zoomed in on the original. So I'd say Flux Kontext and Nano Banana both would work for this. None of these others did a particularly good job at that, either changing up the character or not getting the shot right. So I tried zooming in on the man, basically the same thing. Flux Kontext and Nano Banana do a great job. He looks good in Seedream, but it just doesn't understand what to do with the rest of the scene. Reve changes the character, ChatGPT changes the character. Qwen was sort of okay, but didn't fully follow the prompt and changed his face a bit too. Now the cat was a little weirder. Flux Kontext got really weird, but most of the others would work for this. Kind of a preference on what type of shot you were going for in whatever film you might have been trying to make. Now I used that same prompt that I did on my face, making a grid with all the different emotions, but I tried it with the woman, the man, and the cat. So this one involves a lot of prompt understanding and also consistent character across each of these different emotions. Now Nano Banana, Seedream, and Flux Kontext all do a good job with the consistent character. Similar results with the boy. Nano Banana is the very clear winner. It nailed all of the emotions perfectly. Then with the cat, Nano Banana was the only decent one, and it did really well. I want to try to summarize everything I've covered here. I'll just go tool by tool. So Qwen was okay at a lot of the challenges, but the only time it was the winner was when using the stick figure for poses. It did amazing with that. It was also about tied for the removing people prompt and was passable in a lot of these, just rarely was the winner. Reve is the model I was most surprised by. Some of the challenges that involved kind of thinking things through, it was really good at that. Like, it was the only one to get the Rhino challenge. It was really good at a lot of the consistent character challenges too. Right up there with the top models. Even that Drake face swap and keeping the pose on the character sheet. I also do really like the editing feature on the platform where you can move things around. Now, Flux Kontext is one of the oldest models here. It didn't win very many of these. The areas where it does best is with animation styles with consistent characters and scenes while moving the camera around or changing the environment. Some of the others are good at that too, though. ChatGPT is probably the best of all the models with prompt understanding, but it will often change the details on characters. I don't like its style most of the time, and the lack of aspect ratio customization is a huge drawback too. But for just understanding what you mean, it's very consistent. Seedream wasn't particularly good with prompt adherence. It was decent in some scenarios. If I needed to create shots with a realistic, consistent character where the finer details really matter, I'd go with Seedream, or maybe Reve sometimes. And Seedream has the benefit of generating in 4K, so that's a huge advantage too. Now, if that consistent character just needs to be close, I'd use Nano Banana because the aesthetics and prompt understanding of the base image generator are better. And if I had to pick only one tool to use for everything, it would be Nano Banana, but for some of those specific use cases we covered, it definitely wouldn't be. It has good aesthetics, good prompt understanding, good consistent characters, good graphic design. So all around, it's really good, just not always the best. And if you want to go way deeper on learning AI, we have a full course platform on Futurepedia. We have over 1,000 lessons across 30 AI courses. One of the newest ones we just released is on Nano Banana. It goes super deep into how to use it across different use cases for business, marketing, and creativity, and how to work around some of the challenges that come up. But that's just one of the newer ones. We also have full learning paths on ChatGPT, prompt engineering, automation, custom GPTs, video generation, coding with AI, and there's a lot more. It's all included in one subscription. You can get a 7-day free trial using the link in the description, or if you liked this video, you'll probably like this one next.